starting with the general art style, it's kind of like all the characters are really flat shaded, kind of almost like a vector art style, where they're mostly silhouettes of characters with large blocks of color and simple shapes. And originally we designed them like that to keep them readable at any distance while the game is moving really fast, so that everything's very, very visible and very readable for the player. But at the same time, I think it kind of took on a life of its own, with like, in a lot of magical girl transformation sequences, lots of times they'll like kind of fade out into a silhouette, and it'll be like super colorful with lots of big blocky shapes as they do their spins and twirls and stuff. And I think that kind of capturing that has been a goal later on in development once we kind of got that vector art style locked in.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of funny because I think when we show the game at conferences and things, people initially think the game is 2D. Yeah, right, because it's very, very flat looking, how we present all the characters and the enemies. But because it's in 3D and we just have this very like flat style to it, we're able to do really nice like animation tweening and like really nice, especially if you're doing like all these like twirls and spins on the characters. It's much easier to do if you don't have to like animate each individual frame. So yes, we decided.
People are always really surprised with how smooth, especially when a character turns and they're like, oh, it's 3D.
When we started looking at magical girl cartoons and media for inspiration, the stories really involve sort of like, it's kind of like this ragtag team of like characters who were coming from super different backgrounds, and part of the story of those shows is like them learning how to work together and how to collaborate, which I think is very fitting for our game. So when we were designing the characters, we really wanted them to seem like they were coming from like very different places, especially since it takes place in space, right? It's like all the possibilities.
Yeah, and I think even going in as a start, I think that we had diversity as a goal, where we wanted this cast of characters to have these different body types, to have these different like orientations. Some of them are more androgynous than others, some of them like beyond just like their personality being like these magical girl archetypes, having them be a diverse cast of humans, I think was a really, really strong original goal for us.
The first character, I think that we kind of solidified her design and her personality, was our pop idol. So she is an intergalactic pop star. And she was the first character that we solidified her design and her personality, so she kind of became early on kind of the poster girl.
Mostly Oriana came at us with this character with a million ruffles and great big hair, and we're like, we all love her very much. More like this one, please.
Yeah, exactly. So, so she was the first one that we designed, and I think when we were designing the rest of the cast, it was kind of revolving around that first design that we did. So yeah, so she's an intergalactic pop star. Her personality is that up front she's very kind of like bubbly and likable and very cutesy. But I would say like her maybe bad traits are that she's a little bit, her flaw, she's a little bit lazy, she's a little bit pampered, she's not used to working together with other people. So that's something that she's overcoming as she joins this group.
Kind of the follow-up to the pop star has been the character we're referring to as the hero, which is a little messed up considering that they're a group
self-proclaimed hero.
Self-proclaimed hero is really the archetype, where it's the blue character with the short cropped hair and the visor. They are kind of this young, spunky go-getter type character. They're very energetic, they're very up in the forefront. They idolize a lot of the other characters for their strength and kind of are a wannabe in that sense. And I think that their flaw in that way is that they don't understand their core strength, and that they might like get into trouble, being brash, trying to prove themselves while trying to establish that their role on the team. Basically, they're a dummy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so those were the first two characters we designed. So they were in early prototypes. Those were the two that we were really showing off. And even then, I think people really were able to identify with at least one of them and like really had a favorite that they latched onto.
Lots of people came up and were like, I really like that one.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really cool if people have their favorites. I think it means a lot to me. But so the other characters we designed a little bit later. So we have one character who is the royalty. She's the intergalactic princess of the universe. So as you could imagine, she's like a little bit uppity, a little bit sheltered, but she also like strongly believes in herself and her capabilities. And I think for some of the other characters, they find that very inspiring. So she's the character who is pink, she's always floating, she's very regal.
Yeah, I gave her more like a refined animation. She has like kind of a relaxed pose as everyone who's kind of like combat ready. She's a very like stable position.
Yeah. Very confident.
Yeah. She has a halo, which is cool.
It is very cool.
And I think that she's kind of our foil to a lot of the other characters, where it's like she already understands what it's like to have responsibility and strength, so all the other characters are kind of like, better step up our game a bit. After her is the bounty hunter, who is kind of our it's kind of
bad girl
tricky
gone good.
Bad girl gone good. So asterisk. She's probably one of the more unique body types. She's huge, and like I think that automatically made her a lot of favorite with a lot of the people who come up to our booth, because it's a very atypical body type for a female character.
Lots of muscles. Yeah.
But her whole thing is that she used to roll with the villain, where they used to be kind of like in this gang, in this like spacefaring ne'er-do-well crew. But now that she's kind of been chosen, over the course of the story, she gets wrapped up with the rest of the team and sort of finds herself straying from that old path of hers.
Yeah. So I think for her it's a lot of questions of like morality and what is good and what is not good, and I think that's what causes her to clash with some of the other characters. As
well as a story of like who your friends are.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe realizing that the people that she liked previously maybe didn't deserve that.
Yeah. And our last character is called the Weapon. So this character is actually an android who was developed by the enemy as like a super weapon. But yeah, so the weapon was developed by the enemies, and at some point they sort of get adopted by this team. I don't want to give away too much of the story because that's part of it, but they are very much, I think, figuring out what it means to have friends, or sort of, sort of like being adopted by this team of like ragtag heroes and sort of figuring out what their role is in the story and in the universe, and sort of like finding themselves.
Very much so, finding themselves, finding a family maybe.
Yeah.
Sort of that archetypal story.
Yeah, and so their story is a little more tied up with the actual narrative that we're working on, so I don't want to give too much.
Got it.
Yeah.